I was born a year before Gladiator release, and I didn't watch until really recently for the first time. Gladiator 2 seems to be primarily enjoyed, but there are some fans out there that aren't really with it, they're not feeling it. I took my mom to see it, and she had a grand time. So I'd like to talk about Gladiator 2 as an outsider. I haven't really developed an emotional attachment to the first one, and I think the second one stands pretty strong as a standalone.
If you watch it without the first.
From the start, assuming you've seen the trailer, you know Paul Mescal's character is Lucius, the little boy all grown up. The way this movie executed its references were so subtle at times, blended so well with the new story, and never took away from the pacing. With that being said, after a certain point, I started to believe that Paul was not Lucius, but really was 𝙈𝙬𝘾. Adopted boy who now claims Africa is his home, not Rome. That was a nice rhyme. I went into Gladiator 2 not knowing who anyone's characters were except that 𝙍𝙀𝙁𝙀𝙁 was emperor, and I didn't even know there were twins until shortly before stepping in. Was Pedro Pascal a good guy? Was Denzel Washington just a side character there to throw remarks? I say Gladiator 2 is epic the same way I consider Dune is. I have no clue if that's a hot take, but here. I watched it in IMAX, so I felt the score, gore, fights, and deaths. You don't make a movie of Rome and release a product of caliber such as The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Mean Girls, or Anyone But You. No, you typically go for greatness, hardship, figureheads, determination, stakes, revenge, death, everything but the happiest ending. When 𝙈𝙬𝘾 and the captured soldiers enter the first arena against the monkeys, you see how capable he is. He demonstrates his leadership, which I was freaking impressed by throughout the whole time they fight for their lives, and I loved it. When the emperors throw Lucius to fight 𝙎𝑗𝑾, you see just how little mercy they have. And what happened at the end of that scene made me say, oh my god, you should have seen my mom. No. I say Gladiator 2 is damn epic and grand, probably the same way you feel Gladiator 1 is. It's larger than life and the story is not run of the mill. The story goes through the motions, elevated by the score elevated by the score, and I freaking love that opening. I almost got chills reading that opening. Yo, when a movie starts with some text, you know business is about to go down. As I said earlier, I went into this not knowing who was the good guy and who was the asshole, except knowing that 𝙍𝙀𝙁𝙀𝙁 was someone we are not gonna like. Paul Mescal is definitely our lead, but hats off to everyone, they deserve their roses too. And I'm talking about how Pedro Pascal played a believable general, a layered one at that. I loved every scene this man was in after we find out that he just wanted to be with his family, yet the kings were just using him to conquer the multiverse. 𝙎𝑗𝑾 versus Lucius was fun to watch, neither man overpowering the other but seesawing their strengths. I'm talking about how 𝙍𝙀𝙁𝙀𝙁's emperor, was it 𝙎𝙀 or 𝙎𝙀, was crazy as hell but had his intellect to him, catching intrigue towards Lucius's poem but also having a softer side for his brother, Emperor 𝙎𝙀𝙁𝑘𝑟𝑎𝑐𝑢𝑙A, or 𝙎𝙎𝑘𝑟ACILA? Man, I don't remember catching their names too well. I've avoided direct spoilers so far, but in the end, I just felt bad for these two. Manipulated and used up like a soggy rag. Even 𝙎𝙬𝙁 questioned the final arena and whether they should move forward with it, and found enjoyment in it when things turned upside down. Unlike Denzel Washington, I had heard the utmost praise for this man's performance in Gladiator 2. Oscar-worthy performance for a supporting actor, and I am on board. Man, Denzel looks good in Rome, but all that is gold does not glitter. First time in my life I used that one. Macrinus plays the high life very well, an entertaining man, but one with high self-importance. This guy was scaring me towards the end of the movie through his violence. He is unashamed, and he's a bitch. My alternate title that I was thinking about towards like the last 30 minutes of the movie was Gladiator 2. Men are no better than women, because men must be stoic and disciplined, but here you have this dude holding a grudge over what a dead man did to him decades ago, where he goes on such a tyrannical spree. Get over it, man. You're free now. So be free. Act free. Denzel Washington as Macrinus is a standout performance, studded with a resourceful man, transitioning to a horrifying person who you can never really tell whose side he's on, and if you could ever really trust him. And I call it now that Denzel is gonna win that Oscar. Was nice to see Derek Jacobi's Gracchus and Connie Nielsen's Lucilla return as well. Much more Lucilla, of course. These two symbolize the old dream of Rome, that there are people still around that believe the Senate should hold the power, not a coked out power lord. That, as well as the fact she's Lucius's mother, that added some spice to the story. And last but not least, Alexander Karim's Ravi, a healer, companion, and in the end, messenger. Gladiator 2 is not just about Lucius Verus Aurelius, what a name, right? But everyone in the society around him, the people of Rome, which, mic drop, is another reason why Gladiator 2 is epic. Miscasted? But why? What is it about this man that seems off? Is it his leading ability? Is it him not bringing enough star power? Is it the fact that Spencer Treat Clark is still alive? Well, I've only watched one review video about this movie and nothing else, and Jeremy Johns brings up a point that Joseph Quinn and Denzel's character have a campy side to them, which is that whole Rome bravado attitude. Oh, beautiful day, how marvelous will the bloodshed be? You know, that whole thing, while Paul Mescal's character is more hardened, he's quiet, reserved, he's not really with the theatrics. But I will say, bro, these personalities never mesh like that. When Macrinus speaks to Lucius, conversations are more serious, and when Lucius is confronted with theatrics, it's funny to see him not break his demeanor and play the game. If anything, is Paul miscasted, or is this a writing problem? I don't care enough to dissect, but I do want to talk about some other actors that were considered. I read that Timothy was filming Dune Part 2, so let's chop that off. Miles Teller, would you have been better entertained? I kid, but his Top Gun body would fit the role. You've got Austin Butler, my man, but he definitely would have needed some beefing up as he's a thin guy. Richard Madden probably could have killed the role, but the man is 38, whereas Ridley Scott was looking for a mid-20s actor, which only Timothy from this list would have satisfied. I personally don't get it, nor do I care enough to go find more reasons, because I enjoyed his performance. However, I would be down to hear some of your comments and gripes about him, and about this movie in general. I came into Gladiator 2 without much baggage or expectations and left with a booming experience. A grand story that is larger than life, and for me, that does it. So that's all for me, and really all I have to say. I'll be rewatching Gladiator 1 pretty soon, and maybe I'll do a follow-up video on it, but what did you think of the second one? I'd love to read some of your thoughts on it, especially those that weren't really a fan of it. Love what you like, my friends. Protect your energy, and strength and honor. So I've been trying to get into the habit of listening to the movie's score, which I'm speaking about while I'm writing these scripts. And at the end of the Gladiator 2 score, Now We Are Here played. And I was wearing headphones while writing the script just to be more into the zone and the world. And the song was just beautiful. I really do think if I rewatch it, I'd become a super fan of it, just like many others are.